The term extrajudicial killing is used for executions that are done by the state outside the due process of law. Life is the first and most fundamental right of individuals, without which no other right can be upheld. So it is a disregard for basic human rights, which is the right to life. Extrajudicial killings are a violation of this right, designating the deliberate killing of an individual by a state agent without a previous judgment. Encounter killings is the term used to describe extrajudicial killings by the police of the armed forces when they encounter the alleged criminals or suspected gangsters. The nature of this act is naturally unlawful. However, in many instances, it is not necessarily considered as an offense, as it ensures speedy justice, disregarding the presumption of innocent until proven guilty altogether. Because in India, the death sentence can be awarded only on the rarest of the rare instances by, of course, the Supreme Court. Human beings expect to have basic minimum rights and liberties respected. The state or the government is the sole authority to promote and protect the rights of its citizens. The state authority mainly includes the police department, the army department, the judiciary, and the civic administration. Among the most dreadful human rights violation, no other practice is more audacious than extrajudicial killing. The Constitution of India was made with the intent of making India a country that is governed by the rule of law. As per the rule of law, the Constitution is the supreme power in the land, and the legislative and the executive derive their authority from the Constitution. There is a procedure prescribed by the law for criminal investigation, which is embedded in the Constitution under Article 21, as a right to life and personal liberty. It is fundamental, non-derogable, and is available to each and every person. Even the state can't violate that right. Hence, it is the responsibility of the police to follow the constitutional principles and uphold the right to life of every individual, whether an innocent one or a criminal.
Legal provisions enabling extrajudicial killings by the police and armed forces. There are no provisions under the Indian law which directly authorize the police officer to encounter criminals. However, there is some enabling provisions that can be construed to confer power on the police officer to use force against a criminal. There is a right to private defense under Section 96 of the Indian Penal Code 1860 available with the police officers, which states that any person may exercise his right of private defense, which may also extend to cause death if there is apprehension in the mind of the persons exercising the right of death or limb. This right cannot be exercised by the police officer in the case of retaliation. Under Section 46 of the Criminal Procedure Code 1973 also permits a police officer to use all means to arrest the accused if he forcibly resists the endeavor to arrest him or evades such arrest. The Indian Penal Code 1860 also provides an exception if an encounter is done by the police officer. Exemption 3 of Section 300 states that culpable homicide is not murder if it is done by the offender who is a public servant exercising his right of private defense in good faith and exceeds his power conferred to him by law and causes the death of such person. These provisions under the Indian Penal Code have added a protective layer for public servants so they can discharge their duty effectively and in an interest of the society.
On 4 June 2021, an Assam Rifles major allegedly shot dead a villager in Kangpokti district in Manipur. The victim was identified as Mang Boylal Haum, aged 30 of Chawla village. He was said to be a daily wage labourer and a father of 2 children. The villagers protested in agitation and several protests were seen in the village between the villagers and the armed force personnel. It is claimed that Major Alok of the 44 Assam Rifles post raided the house of Mang Boylal without giving any specific reasons. They whisked the villager away from the village, and it is alleged that the major shot Haum in the abdomen 3 times and left him by the roadside. He later succumbed to injuries even when the villagers tried to save him.
Vikas Dubey died in an encounter in Kanpur. The encounter broke out after a police vehicle carrying him overturned and the gangster attempted to escape. He snatched the police weapon and opened fire at the police but was surrounded. He suffered a few bullet shots in the retaliatory fire. The gangster was arrested from Ujjain in Madhya Pradesh after a 7-day hunt. Dubey had close connections in politics. This granted him an almost invincible protective shield from the law. In fact, a week before his death, 8 police personnel were brutally gunned down by his men when they had gone to his village Bikru to arrest him. He escaped this because he had received a tip-off from a mole within the police force itself. Had Dubey been put through the mandated judicial process instead of being killed in a so-called encounter, it is possible that important information about this dangerous nexus could have been exposed. In cases such as this one, encounter killings are seemingly used to protect powerful people and hide information of high public interest. Another incident is of a 25-year-old woman. All 4 accused in the rape and murder of the veterinarian were killed by the police, triggering a chorus of praise for what many saw as speedy justice but also raising concerns over extrajudicial executions. The 4 men were arrested for allegedly raping and killing the woman by smothering her and later burning her body. They were remanded to 7 days judicial custody. News of the encounter killing led to celebrations in some quarters and concern in the others. The incident took place when the accused were taken to the scene of the crime near Hyderabad for a reconstruction of events as part of the investigation. They snatched weapons and fired and tried to escape. Police fired in retaliation, in which the 4 accused died. The 4 accused were shot dead on NH-44 near Hyderabad, the same highway where the charred body of the doctor was found.
Extrajudicial killings are not new to the winds of India. They have transformed India from a democracy to something resembling the autocratic and often lawless Khap Panchayat, forming a blot on the country's criminal justice system. The rule of law and constitutionalism is continued to be undermined pointedly through the rise of extrajudicial killings. The legislative, executive, and judiciary are 3 equally important pillars of democracy, and the building collapses even if one pillar is given more power or if one pillar is weakened. Accompanying the deteriorating salience of the rule of law is the unregulated power that the public vests in the hands of the police to act as judge, jury, and executioner. Such unchecked power resulted in numerous scandals. For example, in 2018, India Today reporters disguised themselves as businessmen and approached Uttar Pradesh police asking them to file a fake bank robbery case against their competitors and encountering them under these allegations. The officers agreed to it in exchange for 8 lakh rupees. In Uttar Pradesh, there have been over 800 allegations of fake encounters, which is quite concerning and could lead to the demise of democracy. To avoid such heinous acts, the government must enact harsher laws against such killings. The overworked police force is one of the main causes of such unjust behavior. According to the United Nations, a country should have 222 police officers per 100,000 people. However, India has only 144 police officers per 100,000 people. As a result, illegal techniques such as faking encounters are used to conclude cases faster. As a necessity, the government must seek to appoint more police officers to alleviate the strain. Lastly, there is a lack of faith in the legal system. Justice delayed is justice denied. Since the Indian judicial system is so lengthy, many people believe that justice should be served by the armed forces before it reaches the courts. To avoid this, the government should establish fast-track courts and appoint more judges to reduce their work.
Our group would like to conclude by saying that encounter killings must be investigated independently as they affect the credibility of the rule of law. There is a need to ensure that there exists a rule of law in a society that needs to be adhered to by every state authority and the masses. It is required to ensure proper physical custody of the accused in order to prevent any attack by them on the police personnel. Further, there is a dire need for complete overhauling of the criminal justice system and bringing out required police reforms. Standard guidelines need to be laid down to better train the police personnel and equip them with all relevant skills so that they can effectively tackle every dreadful situation. Human rights angles need to be kept in mind while dealing with arrested individuals or persons. In a democracy like India, where the Constitution acts as a guiding light and guarantees justice according to due process of law, it should be the responsibility of every organ to act within the constitutional responsibility.